In this video, we want to talk about fitting the brass onto the end of our bar. So to begin with, I'm going to put a piece of tape over my brass. I have already sanded the back to make sure it's flat. So I lay it down. Then I'm going to trim it to size. Okay, then my brass is ready to go. Now, I'm going to take my bar and center it on the brass, making sure I'm right in the middle of it, and I'm going to trace out the end of my bar. There's a tracing of it. Now I want to take a ruler and run a line right through the middle of it. Right through the middle. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to come in about a heavy 1/4 of an inch, maybe a 32nd over, make a mark, make a mark, and that's pretty much good. So I'm then going to take my awl and on this spot give it a punch and give it a punch. So we're centered on our line about a heavy 1/4 of an inch in, and now we're ready to head off to the drill press to drill those holes. Okay, I'm going to position my brass piece in the shouldered oak block. That will keep it from spinning if the bit catches it. And that's a 1/16 of an inch drill bit. And those are 1/16 of an inch holes with a little burr that we want to keep. It's going to prove helpful on the back of it. To make sure I have a clean edge, I'm going to trim the end of this bar. Usually when you do sanding, you end up actually rounding the edge down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this to give myself a nice square edge. Now, when you peel the tape off, you want to peel it pulling forward so as to lay the fibers down as opposed to picking them up. It makes for a much cleaner cut. Okay, I want to do a few things here. Now, I've got my bar, the edge I've trimmed off. This is a piece of stock, it's a 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to lay it down, run a line, flip it over, run a line, and that lets me see the center of my bar. So I'm going to pop it in there, making sure that I'm square. Now I'm going to take a set of dividers and I'm going to line them up to these holes. This will give me my spacing. So now that I've got that, I'm going to center it on here and on this line. This way I know that when I go to transfer my brass over, it will be properly centered. Put a line there for visibility. Okay? Now I'm going to position this. I'm looking through the hole. And I'm going to position this right on top. Now here's my bit, just to give you an idea. Here's my bit. Set it in that indent. Now this is where you usually have two people helping you off. One person standing to the side this way, telling you when you're vertical, and then you can usually handle the first one yourself. But I'm going to go ahead and drill this, hoping I'm good. Trying to make sure I'm straight. So that's good. Now just to make sure I get perfectly lined up, I'm going to insert this bit. All right? So that guarantees that I'm not going to drift at all. And then get my other bit. With the help of my buddy, making sure I'm vertical. Go ahead and drill this one. And now I have both my holes where they need to be for the proper spacing. The next step is to countersink the face of this brass. So I'm going to peel off my piece of tape, go back to the drill press, and to make the countersinking easier, I'm going to go ahead and enlarge these holes. I have a 5/32 drill bit in there. I'm going to sand off the burr I have in the back just to get it smooth again. And now I'm going to go ahead and countersink. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I want to mount it. Now I need to enlarge this hole to fit the screws. So they bite, but they're not so loose that they strip out. So my brass fits on top. The heads are just a little bit proud. These will never get sanded. These are left alone. What we will then do is take all of the brass down to the bar without taking anything off of the bar. So it'll be tapered back, so we'll shape it on the sander with some files and sandpaper and such. But that is how you in a preliminary manner, mount the brass plate to the end of the bar. Just want to stress one thing quickly. If in doing this, this hole is too far out towards the edge, you will split the bar. And that's what we are trying to avoid happening.